Here we go. Nice to see everybody today. Thank you for joining in. As always, we were here 24 hours ago. I know some of you were. I can't see everybody for whatever reason, so all good. But yeah, happy to be back as always, and glad to have you. Welcome to this space. I want to acknowledge Insight Timer. How many of you have seen the campaign they are putting out about Apple and challenging Apple's decision to take teachers, Insight Timer teachers, 30% of our live stream donations? Has anybody seen that anywhere? Yeah, I'm grateful for Insight Timer for many reasons. And yeah, I'm just grateful that they care enough to stand by their principles and integrity around, standing up to Apple to advocate for the teachers on Insight Timer. And it's like a kind of a foundational argument that could affect into the future. So it's not just about this, but it's about the 30% fee Apple charges if somebody gives me a donation within this space. During the live stream, Apple considers that some sort of like a creative content, and Insight Timer is disputing that. So that, if they do make the change, that would affect things moving forward, possibly with other apps down the line. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go on Insight Timer's social media. They've posted a reel and maybe some other things. But yeah, I just want to share gratitude and acknowledgement to Insight Timer for that. So, hi J.E. and hi Amy. Hi Ola Mark. Looks like Summer Star. Hi. Thank you. Yes. My pink. If you follow me on social media, on my stories, I just posted that I got a pink helmet, motorcycle helmet. Yeah. So, and by the way, please follow me here on Insight Timer. If you do care to give a donation, it's appreciated. And if you have energy around the Apple thing and you do want to give a donation, know that if you go out of the live stream and donate through my profile, I get 100% of the donation and Apple doesn't get a cut. I'm 99% sure that's the thing. So, however you choose to donate, I welcome and appreciate. And also, if that's important to you, then if you want to, you can do it in that way. So, thank you. Thank you, Amy. Summer Star. Yeah. So, also this and almost 99% of my live streams are available as replays on my YouTube channel. So please subscribe there, as I am working or playing to build my YouTube channel. So I would love your support there, as well as Facebook and Instagram. Check out my website. You can find all that in my Insight Timer teacher profile if you are new or if you're curious. Yeah, I've got a couple new I'm a spiritual life coach and Reiki Master Teacher. If you don't know that, I've got a couple new clients recently, so I have space for one or two more. So if you want support in the ways that I am available for in life coaching, in the I also do Reiki and Ancestral Clearing, tarot, oracle readings. Reach out and follow your heart, follow your intuition there. So, yes. And I am so lucky, grateful, and blessed that I don't work. I get to be with people, and I'm so blessed and privileged to do that. So, yes, I am joining you from Bali, if you don't know that. It's my home. I've been here almost 10 years. 10 years in May, off and on. So, happy to be here. Just grateful for many things. So welcome, Duchess. Glad you're here. And yes, so we'll go ahead and dive into what we're up to. What we're up to today in this live stream. And also, in 24 hours, we'll be doing Conversations with God series. And then Saturday Night Live, as usual. We had a really fun live yesterday on words and their power, and changing our words to change our minds, to change our lives. And that replay will be up on YouTube today, and it's there. I just get to finish it up. Not need to finish it up, I get to finish it up. Did y'all catch that one if you were here yesterday? Awesome, Summer Star, great. And I'm retired as well. Y'all that know my story with my 9 to 5, they basically gave me an ultimatum and said either you move back to the US, start coming back into the office. I'd been 100% remote for 8 years, or you don't have a job anymore. And so I said, take this job and shove it, basically, but not. Yes and not really. But yeah, there's many ways I could tell that story of and it's also true. I can say I retired, because I did. I chose to leave and never return to the world of that job in 9 to 5. So I am also retired, and also I am still in a place of creation in a different way with what I do as a life coach. So funny. So right now what we're going to do is there anybody brand new to me or brand new to the book that we're going to be listening to? The book is called There's Nothing Wrong with You. So that's why the live stream is titled that. So if there's anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about, it's totally fine. You're not you haven't missed out if you've missed anything. As far as this book reading that we're doing, trust that you're finding this at the perfect time, and you'll hear exactly what you need to hear. This book that we're studying is one of those, you can jump in and hear something. You don't need to catch it from the beginning, although, of course, that's optimal, but it's not necessary at all. So, Summer Star, my live streams are an hour. Sometimes they go over, but yeah, an hour long. So everybody's familiar with the book. Also, by the way, if you want a PDF copy of this book, I can send it to you. You need to send me a private message requesting it, and then we'll connect in that way so I can get it to you. And also, if you want the audio recording, so I'm going to play an audio of the author reading the book. If you want that link, you can also send me a private message, however you want to do that. So, you're welcome. Anything else before we dive in? Going once, going twice. Okay, so, and the other part of this is that I channel Reiki. I mean, I always channel Reiki throughout the session. And also during the portions when we're listening and hearing the book, I am focusedly channeling the Reiki to all of you here who choose to receive it. And also, as far as the book goes, if you are new, I just basically go with my intuition as to how long I play, and then when I stop, and then we discuss, and then, I might rewind, or I might, so continue. So there's no like method, just following flow and intuition. So, great. We'll go ahead and dive in. I invite you all, if this an invitation for those who are willing to receive it, that you take this space and time to be in a meditative, mindful space, meaning that you do not have divided attention, that you be here with this information, with yourself in a mindful and meditative way. So that means, not scrolling while listening, doing other things, if that's, available for you, that you, that you pay attention with your presence and focus and attention fully to get the most benefit from this information. So, hello, Yai. Glad you are here. Hope you're doing well. I think I see Keela as well. So, that's your invitation. We'll go ahead and get started. So, just listen until I stop the recording, and then we will have question answers, discussion, whatever comes up.
Guide. Yes, because egocentricity sees that as death. As long as there are those awful hidden things in you, self-hate can control your behavior. But when you're willing to acknowledge and accept, to let everything come into the light of day, self-hate no longer has any power over you. If I could have compassion, if I could love myself for hating myself, I would no longer be hating myself. I'd be loving myself. And nothing about me would need to change.
Okay, I'm stopping there. I think we actually ended on that last time, and it's such an important point. I want to read that quote again. So, for me in the book, it's an electronic PDF that I have that I can share with anyone, and so I screenshotted a number of quotes, and I screenshotted what you just heard because it's so important. So really take this in again. If I could have compassion, if I could love myself for hating myself, I would no longer be hating myself. I'd be loving myself, and nothing about me would need to change. I'm going to show this. Maybe you can read it for yourself, because it's something that takes a minute to kind of let it sink in. But it's super profound. I feel like this is the key that not unlocks the door, but like pulls the rug out from under this idea of self-hate or egocentricity, or the idea that, there's always something wrong. There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong. So if I could have compassion, if I could love myself for hating myself, then I'd be no longer hating myself. I'd be loving myself, and nothing about me would need to change. So I want to make sure that lands, because it's so important. Do y'all get that? Going once. I see some hearts. Great. Yes, Keela. And I'm so glad you asked. If I could have compassion, if I could love myself for hating myself, I would no longer be hating myself. I'd be loving myself, and nothing about me would need to change. So what that means is, okay, something comes up somewhere in the mind. There's a judgment, that I've done something wrong, or I'm not doing it good enough, or I should or I shouldn't have, or anything like that. And then you notice the shame, you notice the self-blame. This happens on these like micro levels, which is what I've come to uncover within my own self. So the moment where you see the system at play of what I just described, if you can have compassion and love yourself for hating yourself, being in that something wrong structure, if you can love and have compassion for yourself for hating yourself, then you'd be no longer hating yourself, but loving yourself. And then nothing about you would need to change. So thanks for asking that to be read again, because you're asking for many here who wanted it read again and didn't have the courage to ask, maybe, or wanted to. So does that land? It is profound, Andrea. It really is. I mean, it's so, like, the most profound truths are deceptively simple. And then what happens is, it's so simple, the mind is it just throws it away. The mind, or at least my mind does, it throws these simple, profound truths away because they're too simple, and it's like the mind can't work with it. The mind wants to work with like these complicated, layered, reasons, and it just can't be this simple. And yet it is. Because this is at the very root of the problem, which there isn't a problem, that's an illusion. But yeah, I keep going back to this clearing exercise, and if y'all are on my newsletter, my email newsletter list, you got the email a few weeks ago. If you're not, please reach out if you'd like to be on it. I send an email once a month. And yeah, I talked about this whole evolution of why this book, why this information, just for me having a deeper understanding of how deep this system of self-hate, of separation, of egocentricity goes for me, which I'm just like everyone else. It's just what level of awareness do we have about it? And so this was a perfect example of what I shared in the newsletter. I went on this meditation retreat. Oh my God, I saw all the thinking, and then I just hated myself and judged the shit out of myself because, oh my God, I'm still so fucked up and judging everybody and judging myself. And I thought I was further along in my journey. And so, of course, the old pattern of thinking then was like, then I hated myself more because I saw the judgment. So this is the exact thing where the statement I just read would totally dismantle the whole structure of what I just shared. Do y'all follow that? Does that make sense? I had an awareness of thoughts. I then made myself wrong, and that I wasn't good enough and I wasn't far enough along, and I'm wrong and bad for still having judgments and etc. So then I hated myself on top of that. So it just keeps the whole system in place. So let me read that quote again with what I just said in mind. If I could have compassion and love myself for hating myself in that moment, and y'all have your own moments you can consider, I would no longer be hating myself, I'd be loving myself, and then nothing about me would need to change. So in that moment, and I was in this, silent meditation retreat, so it was quite intense. I remember the next morning after this awareness came, it's like, how many of you can relate to being in a prison of your mind, and you just you might go try and escape it by moving the body to another location, and it doesn't work because you bring your mind with you. That's what happened. And I got up for 6 a.m. meditation, and I was at this Buddhist retreat center in northern Thailand. I was living there at the time, and it's beautiful and blah, blah, blah. And, I just, this judgment was all consuming my attention. And I was in despair. I was really despairing of oh my God, it's so bad, it's so big. And then I remember thinking okay, it's time for meditation. I'm just going to go in there and sit on the chair in the meditation room, and I'm just going to love myself. That's all I'm going to do. Everything that comes up, I'm just going to love it. I'm just going to sit there and love myself. And when I had that awareness, that was the opening, because I was trapped in this horrible prison cell of my thinking, and it felt like there was no way out in that moment. So that's why we're here doing this. So some of y'all can relate and get that. And exactly, Andrea. So if you are newer to this book reading, the beginning of the book, and you can watch the replays on my channel, there's a playlist, or you can get the book and read it. But it talks about that this all comes from conditioning from childhood. So it's good to know where it comes from, and also, the healing and the solution is right here, right now, in this moment. It's the only, we can do something about it right now. So when you notice self-hate, judgment, blaming self, wrong, shame, judgment, guilt, regret. That's the moment. First, to have acceptance of it, and then the compassion can come in. So, we will go, hi Ginger. We will go ahead and continue the listening.
The voices. Listen, but don't believe. If the voices in your head are saying, for example, that you're a bad spiritual student, you're a bad meditator, you fidget, your mind wanders, at some point you could identify that as self-hate and let go of it. But if you start thinking what a good meditator you are, what a good spiritual person you are, how well you're doing, and how much better your practice is than others, that's self-hate too, and very difficult to let go once you're hooked. It's helpful to develop a habit of not believing any of the voices. Listen, but don't believe.
That's another nugget to stop on. Did y'all catch that? It's so easy to identify the self-hate as the negative voice. I'm not a good enough meditator, which is exactly what I was just saying about the example I gave. That was it. But what she's saying there is it could also be flipped to, oh, I'm a better meditator than everyone else. I'm a better spiritual student. Because it's still a comparison, and it's still it's still egocentric. It's still ego-based. So she might go into it a bit more, but so it says don't believe any of the voices of any sort of judgment, because it's judging against good, bad, right, and wrong. It's a whole context and structure. My coach, I'm a coach, I have a coach. He's been working with me on this idea of context. When am I in, and that's what I shared about in the newsletter I mentioned as well. When am I in the context of good, bad, right, wrong, should, shouldn't, all the damn time. And you likely are too. It's just starting to notice it. So if we say, I'm a bad meditator and judge ourselves, or if we say, I'm a better meditator than others, or a good meditator, it's still conditional, and it's still in a context of good and bad. Even though we're not saying I'm wrong and I'm bad, if we're saying we're better, it's still it's the whole system. And that's what the most important thing is with all of this, and that this book talks about. It's a system that we have an invitation here to come out of. So, hi Deb, nice to see you again. Rochelle. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, Rochelle can relate, so appreciate you giving voice. Yeah, so it sounds like, I mean, I'm not in conversation with you, but it sounds like you're living out of integrity with yourself and your values, and that's creating suffering. This book says you cannot shame and hate and blame your way into compassion or change. If it worked, it would have worked already, right? So this again is part of the whole structure. And did you notice, and I know you were here yesterday, you used the word have to. You have to get up. So I really invite you to change that, because even those small changes in those words are going to start reprogramming your subconscious mind. And again, you are at choice. Literally, it might not feel like it, but you are. And when you realize you are at choice for everything in your life, then you will again start becoming unstuck. So I appreciate you sharing, and it, might not be the easiest thing to hear, and it's also true. And there's nothing wrong with you. So, okay, we'll continue.
It's as if you're sitting around a dinner table with a group of people and they're all talking. You can listen, but you don't have to decide who's right and who's wrong and who's good and who's bad, etc. You can just have the attitude of mind of being present, but not involved. When you can have that attitude of mind with other people, it's a big step. When you can have it within yourself, you're moving toward freedom. Because the part of you that is trying to figure out which is right and which is wrong, who is good and who is bad, etc., is the problem. That's the person who is confused and suffering. When you can just step back, there isn't anything to figure out and there's nothing to believe. There's just being fully present in the moment. The voices take us out of the moment and make us believe there's a world other than the present. The more they can get us involved in that belief, the more we're going to believe in the illusion of ourselves as separate, and the more we're going to suffer. The less we believe, the less we're seduced. The more able we are to be in the present, the less there is someone to suffer.
Okay, I'm going to pause there. Am I frozen with anyone else? Okay, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for sharing again, Deb. Realizing you're at choice here empowers you to then start opening the possibility of creating a different choice. So what this was saying right here, what we just heard, was, again, it's this measuring stick of just judging. So, oh, I'm a good meditator is still a judgment. So it doesn't matter what the judgment is. It's again, it's part of the system. So what she just said was, there's an illusion of the separate self. That's what creates the suffering, which is the ego. When we come into full presence, that is the way to disengage and disentangle from that self-hate and that egocentricity. So presence helps break that illusion. Did y'all get that? Okay. We'll continue.
Learn to be present. Practice hearing the voices in your head without becoming involved and without judgment. And take it on faith that any voice, internal or external, that is saying something is wrong with you is not the voice of your heart, not the voice of God, not the voice of true nature. The reason acceptance isn't more popular is that in acceptance, there's nothing to do. In acceptance, there's nothing wrong that needs to be changed, fixed, worked on, or otherwise improved. And the simple, astounding, mind-bogglingly amazing fact is that as soon as you accept yourself exactly as you are, all those character flaws, selfish, aggressive, snobbish, shy, angry, reclusive, dependent, insecure, stressful, they begin to fall away because those flaws exist only in non-acceptance, only in self-hate. Guide. Nothing about how you are is a problem until you resist it. The problem comes into existence with resistance. Student. But what if I want to do something that's harmful? Guide. Wanting to do something and doing something are two entirely different things. There's no need to act just because you have a feeling. Student. But what if I want to act? Guide. Your questions come from a belief that you're inherently bad and that if you don't control yourself, you'll be bad. When you realize that you are goodness and let yourself live from that, being harmful, intentionally harmful, would never occur to you. If you take the most frightening thing in the world and invite it in, put your arms around it, and sit still with it, what's left to be frightened by? Self-hate.
Okay. Thanks, Duchess, for that quote. I'm going to rewind that piece. I'm going to play it again because there was a lot in that. And at the same time, I'm going to take a bathroom moment. So we'll do two things at once. But yeah, I want to revisit that last couple minutes there. So great.
To suffer. The less we believe, the less we're seduced. The more able we are to be in the present, the less there is someone to suffer. Learn to be present. Practice hearing the voices in your head without becoming involved and without judgment. And take it on faith that any voice, internal or external, that is saying something is wrong with you is not the voice of your heart, not the voice of God, not the voice of true nature. The reason acceptance isn't more popular is that in acceptance, there's nothing to do. In acceptance, there's nothing wrong that needs to be changed, fixed, worked on, or otherwise improved. And the simple, astounding, mind-bogglingly amazing fact is that as soon as you accept yourself exactly as you are, all those character flaws, selfish, aggressive, snobbish, shy, angry, reclusive, dependent, insecure, stressful, they begin to fall away because those flaws exist only in non-acceptance, only in self-hate. Guide. Nothing about how you are is a problem until you resist it. The problem comes into existence with resistance. Student. But what if I want to do something that's harmful? Guide. Wanting to do something and doing something are two entirely different things. There's no need to act just because you have a feeling. Student. But what if I want to act? Guide. Your questions come from a belief that you're inherently bad and that if you don't control yourself, you'll be bad. When you realize that you are goodness and let yourself live from that, being harmful, intentionally harmful, would never occur to you. If you take the most frightening thing in the world and invite it in, put your arms around it, and sit still with it, what's left to be frightened by? Self-hate. Everyone's doing it. Once I catch on to how this self-hate process works, I see that it goes on all the time, everywhere. Everyone does it. This is just how we operate. When I see this to be true, self-hate ceases to be a private, secret thing I do that proves I'm a bad person. I can begin to take it less personally. At some point, now or later, you're going to have to risk being you in order to find out who that really is. Not the conditioned you, not the you've been taught to believe you are, who you really are. And this perhaps will be the scariest, the most loving, and the most rewarding thing you will ever have done. If you're not becoming kinder, gentler, more generous, and loving, you are not doing this work. If you're feeling more burdened, judgmental, and rejected, you're doing self-hate.
I'm going to pause there because that quote was another one that I screenshotted from the book. Hey, Jamie. So it says, if you are not becoming kinder, gentler, more generous and loving, you're not doing this work. If you're feeling more burdened, judgmental, and rejected, you're doing self-hate. So this really can apply for us here on a spiritual path and a spiritual journey. Because what happens, how many of you can relate to this? It's like we become a project to be fixed and solved. So the thing is, then again, it's in that structure, in that context, in that paradigm where you'll never end. It'll never end. This fix-it project will never end. So it's in the system of self-hate. So let's see. Yeah. Another thing that it said a bit earlier was, I forgot the exact quote, but only listening to the loving voice. That's the only voice worth listening to. So, yeah. And there was some other nuggets in there if anybody has to share them. The one piece about acceptance, wasn't it interesting? It says, we have all these perceived character flaws, and that if we accept ourselves exactly as we are, these character flaws would disappear because the resistance to them is what creates them. Did that land with anyone? This is deep stuff. Hi, Lisa. So what I love about this book, and as I've studied it more, I'm beginning to see more clearly, and hopefully this is happening for y'all too, is that it's not about just, I think I'm wrong all the time, and I think I'm bad, and there's nothing wrong with me. It's about, like I keep saying, this whole structure. It's this whole big structure. And it's got all these pieces and parts. And it shows up in all these different ways. Yeah, Amy, that's challenging. That pushes my edges a bit too. I think for me, and I don't know if this is for you, and Jamie, thanks for sharing as well. It's so outside of of what's known, of my concepts, that it almost, it's like, how could that even be? That's what the conditioned mind thinks. For me personally, I don't know for others, but yeah, that's my thought on that part. And see, if y'all know me, you know I've been in AA 12-step programs really since I was 17 years old. So I've got 30 years of conditioning that I have character defects, is what they call them in AA. And that, we've got to get rid of these character defects. So yeah, there's a lot there. My brain hurts. I don't pretend to know all the answers by any means. Duchess, I'm sure you are not the only one there. And you've been in the Conversations with God live streams. Yes, I'm like 99.9% sure. So that material can really help if that material resonates with you, if that book resonates with you, can really help shift those old beliefs of that conditioning. I had it too. I was a Christian, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, anyway, for me, yes, I had that same conditioning, and I don't have it anymore. So it is possible to recondition, decondition, and then recondition. So thanks, Amy, for sharing that. So say stubbornness, right? What comes to mind is there's a high road and a low road, or there's like the positive qualities or the helpful qualities of it, and then maybe the not so helpful or challenging. What I think about with that too is like, what creates karma? Are these qualities creating karma, which means, are we getting our stuff on the outside world somewhere? Michael Singer talks about that. So that's a very brief statement into something that's, again, very deep and profound. I love it. We're getting so deep here. My Scorpio North Node loves it. Scorpio in the second house, by the way, which is about self-worth. So I'm living my purpose to be even in this conversation right now, which, would make sense that I'm creating this and wanting to share this material. So anyway, we've got a few minutes left, so let's listen a bit longer for our last round.
What is the path? We find the model on the following pages to be an accurate representation of how conditioning toward fear and self-hate keeps us from knowing our original nature. At the center of concentric circles, we have true nature. The next layer is fear. The next layer is self-hate. The next layer is personality. At the personality level, we have our coping mechanisms, our defenses, and our ways of getting by in the world. From this level, I might decide that there must be something more to life than I'm getting, and that I want something more than life is offering. So, I start working with the personality, trying to improve it, fix it, figure it out. I decide to get a different this or that, a new mate, a new job, house, car. I pursue personal growth, get into therapy. I do all the things I think are going to turn me into the person I should be. There's nothing wrong with any of this. It just doesn't work. Finally, all these efforts fail and I decide to take the big plunge and begin some kind of spiritual practice, maybe a meditation practice, something that's designed to take me beyond the personality. I begin the long, arduous journey to the center of my being. The first thing I run into is self-hate. Now, this is the layer that, thankfully, has been keeping the personality level from working. Ours is a spiritual practice and does not have as its goal living a successfully egocentric life. So here I am at level 4, at the level of personality, and I'm trying to become the perfect person. And level 3, self-hatred, is pointing out to me that it's not working. I'm going to improve myself, and self-hate doesn't let me. Whenever I try to make a beginning on this spiritual journey, self-hate will do anything it can to stop me and then beat me for stopping. I'm going to start meditating, and self-hate stops me and beats me for stopping. I'm going to start exercising, and self-hate stops me and beats me for stopping. If I find the willingness to pay attention anyway, to struggle through all the self-hating voices, if I learn just to sit still through all of it and not be thrown off, the next level I encounter is level 2, fear. I've made it past the distractions. I'm being compassionate with myself. And then there's this little moment of silence. What do I get? Fear. Big fear. It says, you're going to die. And I think, how can that be the answer? I've gone through all this and that's the answer? So I come back to level 3, self-hate. And I see that self-hate is pretty handy because it works in both directions. I can go from fear to self-hate, and I can go from personality to self-hate. It's very flexible. I can hate myself for being afraid, and I can try to fix myself so that I'm not afraid, and I can be afraid of the fear, and I can hate myself for being afraid, not to hate myself, all designed to stop me from getting to the center. Perhaps with patience and willingness and experience, or just plain old having suffered enough, I eventually realized that this whole process of going from personality to self-hate to fear to self-hate to personality and back again has been exactly what I needed to be doing to learn what I needed to learn. I realized that every step I've taken has been on the path. Perhaps I realize that it's all been happening perfectly, and that true nature was never inaccessible, never out of reach, always present, always guiding me. There never was anything wrong. I just didn't know it. Horrible.
Okay, we will stop there. And I'm going to rewind that and we're going to start. I'm going to play that whole passage again at the beginning of our next session on this topic, because that's something to listen to again. And maybe in the PDF book it actually has an illustration, because it has illustrations in the book. I think it probably has the circles and things in there too. So if you don't and you want a copy of the book, There's Nothing Wrong With You, PDF, I can send you for free. Reach out in a private message. If you want the link to this audio, send me a private message. Hi, Susan. Glad to see you. Amy, so not in the cycle now, Amy. That's awesome. And it was a lot, Deb, Duchess, Jamie. Yeah, I mean, basically she's explaining enlightenment. I mean, the whole idea of like, you're already enlightened and you just don't know it. And the fact that you think you're not and you think you have to go somewhere is what's making you not become enlightened. Yeah, so Susan and anyone else, if you did miss this, this live stream, you can catch the replay on YouTube. It'll be up in the next 24 to 72 hours max. If you want that info, send me a message, follow me there, here, Facebook, Insta. Give a donation. Again, if you don't mind Apple taking 30% of the donation, you can do it right here and now. If you would prefer I get 100%, you can do it on my profile, like my Insight Timer teacher profile. So that is if you choose it all. So you're welcome, Andrea. Yeah, so I'm going to figure out, I'm going to rewind that to start at that passage. Hi, Britt. Thank you all for joining. I will be live again in 24 hours-ish. Excuse me. Oh, is that true, Britt? My understanding was it was just the live streams, and I don't know. So if you, that might be the case as well. Oh, okay. Yeah, it didn't used to be that. So it is what it is. I do my best to not give energy to it. I just give an invitation. How it's up to you how you choose, if you choose to donate. Yeah, hi, Friendly Pause. So we'll be doing Conversations with God, similar format. Deep material like this, but also different and deep in its own way. And I can send you the audio link to the Convo with God. I don't have a PDF or anything with that, but I do have just the audio link that we listen to there. Hi, Karen. So I will see you all then. I don't know if there's anything else. Anyway, I'll be back soon, if just in case. There was something I missed, we'll get to it tomorrow. So much love from Bali. Namaste. Thank you for joining. Thank you for showing up for yourself to be a part of the awakening, the collective awakening of humanity. And that happens when we, come out of this system of the conditioning. So I acknowledge all of us for that. You're welcome. Thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye.